All right, so we're going to move on to our employee handbook here. So if you will get this book out, in the very beginning, it talks about Todd Roper and his welcome statement. And it says, on behalf of everyone here, he wants to welcome us. He has been here for many, many years, and he is somebody that is invested in this facility, who spends a lot of time working in the facility and with the staff. So he is somebody who we are so lucky and blessed to have, and he wants us to know that we are a people business, and that we love people, and we love working with people, and that we want to be somebody who is a good listener for you, so you can feel comfortable and free to give us ideas, and to also tell us when there are ideas, and whenever there's areas that we can improve in, we're okay with that. So this employee manual has been prepared to inform you of Conover Nursing and Rehabilitation Center's history, philosophy, employment practices, and policies, as well as the benefits provided to you as a valued employee. So it's important that you understand that this is a manual that is fluid, and it can change at any given time as we choose to do that. We can delete ideas, we can discontinue any part of the policies that we had in the past, and we will just continue on as a business, and that we also reserve the right to do it without any kind of notice. Okay, not that we do it that often, because I don't think it's ever happened since I've been here, but that's just kind of like the legalities there that we have outlined in our book. And so the first few pages, you can just scroll right through those, and that is just the table of contents, so you can know where to find things. The next part I want to draw your attention to is the history of Conover Nursing that was written by Josh Sherrill. And so he is telling you kind of the history and how things got started in Conover for his business that he has here. He has been the owner since the very beginning, and I have had the pleasure of meeting him multiple times. And so he is carrying out a family tradition of caring for people. His great-grandmother shares the name with Florence Nightingale. Her name is Florence Thompson, and she was living in the royal southeastern part of North Carolina, and she was working with people even in the 1970s. And so when she quit her occupation as a farmer, then they decided to go on and take care of people, and that was at Sunny Acres Rest Home. And so that's where it all got started at. And so after that, he had multiple family members who decided to go on and to be a nursing home owner, and he has grown his business, and they have continued to grow their businesses in other parts of North Carolina. We also have their family as our pharmacist here, so it is definitely family oriented and family run. And so it's something that we want to share. It's important for us to let you understand how we are like-minded, and not only are they like-minded with me, but I want to be like-minded with you, and that means that I want you to feel right at home right here in Conover Nursing, and I get the feeling that you will feel right at home. So we're so proud of having Josh as our owner, and that he has taken the time to sow into this little business that is now someplace that I get to call home, and it's a place that you get to call home. And so that is something that you can continue to read at home, and something that you can feel proud about, that we are not corporate owned, that we are privately owned, and that our nursing home administrator Todd has been here and loves to be here, and that our nursing home owner Josh Sherrill started this, and that you and me get to be the blessed people who gets to keep it up. And so I feel honored, and I hope that you feel honored too. Okay, so our next part is the mission statement. And the mission statement says that we will strive to provide the state-of-the-art, dedicated, compassionate care to our patients, our families, our employees, and to our community. The main thing that we want our newest employees to realize is that we feel a mission and a duty to provide servanthood to our residents and to our staff and to our family members and to every single patron and vendor that comes through here. With that being said, we want to be together in a harmonious working relationship. And so we want to ensure that we carry out our obligations to you, and that your needs and desires are carried out by us as well. And that's what the success of a family is. And that's going to be the success of you being here, and it's also going to be the success of this facility. So the next page goes on to says what you can expect here at Conover Nursing. And the biggest thing that you need to realize is that you are expected to keep safe, to be honest, to provide your teammates with a pretty smile, looking people in the eye. That's very essential here. And to participate in problem solving, and to help people and respect people, and that you would be in a part of training people that comes in that's new, and that you will continue to carry the light to help people and to assist not just the residents but your teammates too. And it's important that you promote an atmosphere here that is lines up with the vision and the mission of Conover Nursing. Okay, so on page number 10, it outlines how we can create a pleasant and safe working environment, and that is to be kind and considerate, to do your work safely and orderly the way it's supposed to be done, to be dependable and punctual, and to make sure that you are relaying your suggestions, your criticisms even. It's okay. And anything that needs to be conveyed to a supervisor, ensure that you are letting your supervisor know. And that can be abuse, which you maybe even perceive as abuse. And it's important that you are using materials in a way that's not wasteful. We like to ensure that you have all the materials that you need to perform your job duties. But please don't overuse things in a careless manner. And also, we want to talk about our open communication policy. And I always tell people my door is always open. Even if it's shut, it's still open. And when it comes down to it, you need to do the chain of command. When it comes down to talking to people, you need to use your, if you're a CNA, go to your nurse. If you're a nurse, go to your supervisor. If you're a supervisor, you come to the DOM. And then final, if you're still not seeing things done, it's okay to go to the administrator and to let him know. We at Conover are an at-will employment facility, and that means that you nor Conover has entered into a contract regarding the duration of your employment. So which means is we are not saying that you have to be here for a year. And any time that you want to leave, you are free to go. And at the same time, anytime that we feel that you are not the fit for Conover Nursing, that we may at that time decide to terminate your employment. We also promise that we will keep your information confidential, and we also say that when you accept employment here at Conover, we also want you to also agree to keep information confidential and to remind you that you have signed a piece of paper saying that. Information should be only given to the people who are involved in that direct care, okay? Customer relations, though, when it comes to treating our customers with a certain attitude, we need to keep that attitude pleasant, and we need to ensure that the general public is being treated by Conover Nursing employees with kindness and with respect. That's something that we expect, okay? And the more that you promote that, the more the customers will not only respect Conover Nursing, but they will also respect you as an employee here. So make sure that you are helping the residents, and that you are respectful, and that you are doing your job with integrity. Integrity just means doing what you are supposed to be doing, and with competency, that means doing it the way that you know that you're supposed to be doing it. But at any time that you want to terminate your employment here, ensure that you give us a 2-week notice if you are not a nurse, and nurses must give 4 weeks notice, 30-day advance. And if you don't do that, then sometimes there are consequences, and that might be that there is a financial, there might be a financial, hold on just a minute. If you quit without notice, then there could be financial, if you quit without notice, there could be financial consequences. That's what I've been trying to say. All right, so equal employment opportunity, if you'll just read over that, and that just says that anybody that is here are going to be treated the same no matter what, that we won't hire somebody because of their race, and we won't not hire them because of their race. And it's the same thing for their gender, their sexual orientation, age, religion, creed, physical and mental disability, marital status, veteran status, political affiliation, or any other factor that is protected by the law. We talked about a harassment policy already, so it's important that there is a intimidation-free environment that happens at Conover Nursing, and that means that everybody needs to treat people with respect. No verbal, physical, or visual harassment will be taking place here. And so workplace harassment can take place in a lot of different forms. Words, signs, offensive jokes, cartoons, pictures, posters, emails, jokes or statements, pranks, intimidation, physical assaults, contact of any kind, or violence. Harassment is not necessarily sexual in nature. It can also take the form of other vocal activity, including derogatory statements. So it is your responsibility, and all Conover employees' responsibility, for keeping our work environment free of harassment. And it's also our responsibility to ensure that you are reporting that. We encourage you to communicate directly with the alleged harasser and make it clear that the harasser's behavior is unacceptable, offensive, or even inappropriate. And that's okay. You can say that. And it's you're not required to do that, but we do encourage that. We do have a policy statement on sexual harassment, and that is that any sexual harassment may include unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or any verbal or other physical contact that is in a sexual nature. And our statement is that we do not tolerate that at all. And so it happens to anybody. It can happen no matter your age, your body type. It can happen to men. It can happen to women. So the main thing is for you to read this over so you can see exactly what that means, and then sign that for us. Okay? Now, how you were selected. Conover Nursing and Rehab Center is confident that as a result of the mutual selection process undertaken, your employment will prove to be beneficial to Conover as well as yourself, and we look forward to having you to join us. We always carefully select our employees through written applications, personal interviews, and reference checks. This selection process helps us to find and employ people who are concerned with their own personal success and the success of Conover Nursing. People who can carry on their work with skill and ability, and people who are comfortable with Conover, and people who work well with our team. However, we do ensure that we are giving background checks and drug testing. So it's important that you are able to pass those two things before you can be employed here. And then criminal records is something that we also take a look at, and we ensure that people are here that are free of abuse, and that they also have a good driving record, and that they also have licenses that is required to perform their job duties. We also look at health examinations, so we make sure that people are up to date on certain vaccinations. PPDs are given if people don't have that. And the company does pay for those health exams. Rules of conduct. So we do have in this book a rule of conduct here, and it is important for you to read each and every rule, and that you understand the rules, and that you ask questions if you don't understand. It's important, because any violation to these company rules here, this is where I'm at, I'm on page number 17. If you violate these rules, then it's important that you know that that's a rule, so you don't get terminated, because it's not going to be an excuse if you say, I didn't know, because this is the time that we tell you. You can't violate any of the security rules, none of the safety rules. You are required to wear the appropriate safety equipment. You are required to come to work fit for duty, which means you cannot be intoxicated. You cannot perform any act that is negligent or careless that might result in harm for our residents. You cannot be in possession of illegal firearms, no weapons, no explosives. And if you are engaged in any criminal contacts or acts of violence or making any kind of threats, that's against our policy. If you are insubordinate or refusing to do your job, refusing to do any job, refusing to obey instructions, that can be grounds for dismissal. You cannot be threatening, intimidating, or coercing fellow employees. You cannot be engaging in any acts of sabotage. You cannot steal anything here. You cannot be dishonest here. You can't spread any kind of gossip around here. You cannot perform any immoral conduct or any indecency on company property. You cannot start a lottery here. You can't do any kind of careless work here that's unsatisfactory. You can't do any kind of harassment, no sexual, racial, or any other kind of sexist or racist jokes here. It's against our policy. You can't leave before your work day is done. And you can't not come in without the approval of your manager. You can't sleep here. You can't loiter here. No use of the company telephone that's excessive for personal calls. No violating the non-smoking policy. You cannot be creating or contributing to unsanitary conditions here. You cannot post, remove, or alter any of the notices in the bulletin board. And you cannot be late and failure to report, or not show up without calling. It's against our law here, our policies. You can't be obscene. You can't do any kind of speeding or being careless with our company vehicles. You are not allowed to solicit which means no selling stuff here. You cannot not clock in, because if you have a failure to clock in, then you're not going to get paid. Don't fail to clock out. That's against our policy here. Make sure you're clocking in, make sure you're clocking out. And you have to be sure that you're here for our in-services. You have to keep all of your audio and video recorders, any kind of cameras, including your phone, has to be in the break room. And don't violate any of the residents' rights. You have to ensure that you report any arrests and any convictions. You need to be here when there is inclement weather, and you cannot do any kind of abuse at all. It's all prohibited. Now, discipline action will occur. You will get a verbal warning, a written warning, a suspension, and a termination depending on what kind of action you took or what kind of violation that occurred. Because some things you can be just fired, or some things you can just be suspended. We can give you verbal warnings, but it doesn't mean that we always will. It depends on what the action was that was done. In other words, if you hit somebody, you might be terminated. We reserve the right to do that. All right, moving to page number 21 on your employee manual. We are moving on to the probationary period. So your probationary period lasts for about 90 days. The next thing is your anniversary date. It starts when your first day is here. That's your official anniversary date. You must be compliant with the immigration law compliance before you can work here. We do allow the hiring of relatives here, and the company will exercise its business judgment in the placement of related employees. New employee orientation is going to take place, which will give you an idea of where things are, how things are done, rules, procedures, job descriptions. On page 23, it says that we've already went over this. It talks about tardies, and it also talks about calling in to the building. Page number 24 talks about CNA absence policy. We've already talked about that. And so we don't need to redo that. Page number 25 talks about the on-call policy. This is for the nurses. It is the policy of Conover Nursing and Rehab to provide the best quality of care. Because nurses are not always able to work their scheduled shifts, we find it necessary to have an on-call schedule. Fortunately, we have been able to make an on-call schedule that will limit the number of weekends that full-time staff must be on call. All non-Baylor nurses are required to participate in the on-call rotation. Weekend nurse shifts are 12 hours. If you are on call, you must be readily available to work when called. If you do not answer your phone or refuse to come to work, you will be considered a no-call, no-show. It is your responsibility to ensure that we have the correct number that you will be answering when you are on call. Nurses who are on call will be compensated $25 each weekend for time on call. If you are called into work, you will be paid overtime provided the shift work results in more than 40 hours that week. All right, the next part is employee classifications. So it talks about whether you're full-time, if you are part-time, if you're temporary, and then it goes on page 25 to describe what a full-time employee is. It also goes on to describe what part-time employees are, what regular employees mean, temporary employees, non-exempt and exempt employees, PRN employees, Baylor nurses, shift differential, and then it moves on to personal records and administration. So in your personal file, there are certain things that is there and must always be there. And one of them is your name, your address, your date of birth, your birth sex, and social security number. Job application, your job descriptions, orientation, and training program records. On page 28, it goes on to name more performance evaluations, employment references, record of pay, rate, and we must at all times have your current address and telephone number, even if it is private. When it comes to wages and salary policies, Conover Nursing describes this on page number 28. It is our desire to pay our regular employees wages and salaries that are competitive with other employees in the market. We also apply the same principle of fairness to all employees regardless of level of organizational level, race, color, citizenship status, natural origin, ancestry, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion, creed, physical or mental disability, marital status, veteran status, political affiliation, and any other factor protected by law. So the basis for determining pay, and what we always like to say is we like to honor people that have been doing this for a long time. So we like to look at people's competency and their performance and their how many years they've been doing it. Paydays are the 7th and the 22nd day of each month. Employees are paid for the 16th through the end of the prior month on the 7th, and the 1st through the 15th on the 22nd. If payday falls on a Saturday, then payday will be on the Friday before. If payday falls on Sunday, then payday will be the Monday following the weekend. Direct deposit authorization is required for payroll. Pay practices. Required standard deductions will be taken from your paycheck. This is including the federal Social Security tax, federal and state income taxes, wages and garnishments, assignments as required by law. In addition, voluntary deductions may be authorized. Now, if there's ever a mistake in your paycheck, or if you lose your paycheck, make sure you report that immediately. And if we do make a mistake, the error will be remedied promptly. And if the error was an employee mistake, it will be recorded on the next payroll. In other words, if you made a mistake and did not punch in, then that might not be paid until next time. Overtime pay. According to our facility needs, employees will be required to work overtime when requested to do so. For non-exempt employees, overtime will be paid at the rate of 1.5 times your average rate of pay for all the hours that you've worked. This pay rate will be paid for all hours in excess of 40 hours a week. It's important for you to read the rest of page number 29 and then the beginning of page number 30. When it comes to working on company holidays, we want to make you aware of our certain policies that we require, and that is you need to work the day before and the day after. It's important that you read everything on page 30. Our company recognized holidays are New Year's, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas. And to be eligible for this benefit, the employee must have no call-outs for the scheduled shift before and the scheduled shift after, because then you're not going to get paid for your holiday. That's our policy. And then on page number 31, it talks about the shift premium weekend differential. People who work on second or third shift and on the weekends, they get paid what's called a shift diff. And that's a certain amount over and above the regular rate of pay. The same may apply to specific groups of employees assigned to work weekends. Time records. Every employee is responsible for ensuring that you are clocking in and out. You can't come in unless you're scheduled, And you can't leave if you are scheduled unless it's an emergency and your supervisor has said you can. Falsifying a missed punch time is considered theft of time, and it is cause for immediate termination of employment. In the event of an error in recording your time, please report the matter to your manager. There are times whenever we have to do wage garnishments. Be sure that you read that and you understand that. The next one is performance and compensation reviews. We want you to grow and succeed in your job, and Conover Nursing conducts a formal review one time a year for every employee. New employees may be reviewed near the end of the introductory period. A review may also be conducted in the event of a promotion or change in duties. Your annual performance review date will not necessarily coincide with your anniversary date for the purposes of calculating PTO time. During a formal performance review, you and your manager or supervisor may cover the following areas: the quality and quantity of your work, strengths, attitude, initiative, and teamwork, attendance, customer service orientation. Then we might have some other compensation programs and policies that is important for you to know about. For example, sometimes we will run an employee referral program. And that time you might receive $50 for the referral. And there is a promotion and transfer policy. And that's important for you to read. And then there is eligibility for benefits. You must consistently work over 30 hours a week before you're eligible for any of these benefits. Your meal benefit. If you want to eat here, you can do so, and you get a reduced price, and it's $4.50. Tickets for this meal may be purchased from the reception desk. You will be billed for this on your check, so that's where you will see that at. Also, we have insurance coverage, and we offer a group insurance coverage. We offer medical care coverage, vision care coverage, life coverage, and dental coverage. Disability coverage, accidental, cancer, accidental, death. So that's important for you to read about, okay? We also offer workman's compensation for those who get hurt on the job, so be sure to read that. We have unemployment compensation, and we also offer paid time off. If you are an employee here that has been here for 1 year, then you can see your accrual rate, and then it goes on up. So on page number 35, if you will just take a look and see how that works. Okay, so on page number 35, if you will just take a look over all of that, and so for the first year, you will get about 8 days. After 7 years, you will get 2 weeks. And after 11 years, then you will get 3 weeks. Okay? So then on page number 36, it talks about PTO rules, and it just says that you have to have at least 30 hours or more of work per week before you can use any kind of PTO, and you're not allowed to use PTO for excused absences. And then on page 37, it talks about jury duty, and it says that you must notify us within 48 hours that you have been selected to be on the jury. And then even if you are there but need to go home because you was not required to work a full day with the jury duty, then we do expect you to return to work. We do offer a bereavement pay here, and so if you need to take off time due to the death of an immediate family member, then you need to let your supervisor know. You are allowed up to 3 8-hour shifts of paid bereavement leave, which we provided to the employees who work 32 hours or more a week. And so immediate family is a spouse, parent, child, or sibling. The employee spouse, parent, child, or sibling, the employee's child, spouse, grandparents, or grandchildren. The company will require a copy of a memorial card or obituary notice showing the family relationship. Unpaid leaves. There are times when people need to be gone because they have a personal situation, a medical situation, and you may need to be temporarily released from your job duties. And so we will allow eligible employees to apply for and to be considered for certain specific leaves of absences. Time off for any reason due to this during a work day will count first against your PTO days. And then if you fail to return to work as scheduled from an approved leave of absence, or fail to inform your manager or supervisor with an acceptable reason for not returning, then you will be terminated. We will consider this as a resignation. Family medical leave. We've already talked about the family medical leave absence, and that is on at a different time. And so there are more rules on number 39, page number 39. And what it is saying is that you can leave no matter your race or religion, your color, any kind of ancestry, that the decisions are still made the exact same way. And so it's just important that you understand what is required in order for you to be eligible for a family leave. And we've already talked about this in a different video as well. So please be sure that you read all of page number 40. It's rules number 8 through 20, and it just continues to talk about the leaves of absences. Specifically on page number 41, we talk about here disabilities including pregnancies, and so there are specific rules that you can take home and read on page number 41, but it is important that you stay in communication with your manager or your supervisor as soon as possible, as soon as you know the date that you're going to be out for, whether it be a surgery or a pregnancy. That way things can be coordinated and correlated so that our residents are still taken care of. And we need to realize, all of us need to realize that it's really hard to get things covered. So we will protect your job in these cases, but it just needs to be done in a certain way. Your leave of absence needs to be well coordinated so that we make sure that we have good coverage while you're gone. And then there are times that people have to be out for military leave of absence, and that is described on page 41, how to do that. Page number 42 talks about insurance premium payment during leave of absence, and it just says that you can't let it lapse. So it's important that you make sure that you are at least coming in. Like if you're going out for any kind of a leave, that you have to come back in and pay your premiums. Or we may have to stop your insurance. And when it comes to general employee safety, it is important that you let us know if you have any kind of health risk that either puts you at risk or the residents at risk. It's important for you to make sure that all of our residents are safe, and it's important that you follow all the safety regulations when it comes to reporting any kind of safety issues. And so page 43 is a continuation of that. So reporting safety issues may be accident, risk, any kind of potential safety hazards, and any kind of safety policies that are not being followed. It's important for you to report that. When it comes to the parking lot on page 43, courtesy and common sense in parking is going to eliminate all these accidents and personal injuries and any damages to your vehicle. But if you should damage another car while parking or leaving, immediately report that, and report if you see it happen, and make sure that you get everybody's license number so we can make sure that everybody is okay and that they are accountable for what they are responsible for. Then we have some safety rules that's outlined. Safety rules is everybody's business. Safety is to be given primary importance. And you have a responsibility to read and understand and carry out all the safety regulations. Okay? On page number 44, it talks about lifting. We need to make sure that we are following all of the safety guidelines when it comes to lifting. Make sure that you are using all the protocols and that you are abiding by all the safety rules. When you lift someone in a lift, there has to be 2 people there, and whenever you are lifting someone with your body, be sure that you are using proper body mechanics, which means lifting with your legs and not with your back. When it comes to material handling, make sure you're not throwing any objects. Make sure that all flammable items such as cleaning fluids are being used with caution. Make sure that the trash is being disposed in an appropriate way that's not dangerous. Make sure that you clean up all of the spills. If you see a spill and you are not in housekeeping, report that and make sure that you are there until someone gets there. Don't just report it and walk away. Make sure that you ensure that people are not falling or slipping. In work areas, keep all of the cabinets and doors shut and keep all of the cabinets clean and free of risk of things falling down. And also the PPEs, make sure that you're wearing PPE, personal protective equipment, your gloves and masks, shoes and hats, any kind of hearing protectors, anything that is potentially hazard. Be sure that you are using your PPE to protect yourself and others from that. And when it comes to electrical hazards, do not stand on a wet floor while using any electrical apparatus. Make sure that you report if any cords are frayed. Don't make any unauthorized connections or repairs, and do not overload outlets. Fire extinguishers, make sure that you know where they are and how to use them. There are fire extinguishers on every area, on all the halls, and so it's important that you know where they're at. And we use the word PASS, which is PASS, to remember how to use those safety fire extinguishers. Okay, so and what PASS stands for is pull, aim, squeeze, and then sweep. So it's very important that you know how to work an extinguisher. We here do not allow any kind of weapons, so we ask that you do not carry any handguns, firearms, knives, or any other prohibited weapon, regardless whether you are licensed to do so or not. All right. Page number 46 talks about fire prevention. So in the case of a fire, you need to be careful yourself and don't be trying to put the fire out yourself unless the scene is safe. So it's very important that you check to see if it's safe, clear everybody out of the way. Make sure that you call the fire department if the fire department's not on its way. Make sure that you get a supervisor involved. Stop all of your work immediately, and make sure that you get to the nearest exit. Look for a fire extinguisher, and be sure that you follow all the guidelines and do not return into the building unless you are instructed to do so. When it comes to housekeeping, neatness and good housekeeping are signs of efficiency. You are expected to keep your work area neat and orderly at all times. It is a required safety precaution. If you spill a liquid, make sure you clean it up. And make sure that you are taking care of our equipment and property the right way. Keep it clean. If you are having if you are responsible for the Hoyer, make sure you clean it after each use. Do not attempt to use any machine or equipment that you do not know how to operate, or if you have not been trained in that area, don't use it. There are security cameras here. We do video and audio surveillance. So there may be times whenever your calls are being recorded. And there may be times when you are on camera. So make sure that you develop self-awareness habits to ensure that you are aware of your surroundings and potentially questionable or dangerous situations. Now, when it comes time for termination, on page number 47, it says that anytime that you want to terminate your employment, you are free to do so. And that continues on page number 28. And we do talk about that a little bit more in depth in another video. On page number number 48, it says that you must come to company and department meetings, and that if you don't come, page number 49 says that you will not be allowed to clock in again until satisfactory arrangements can be made to satisfy the attendance requirements. When it comes to your dress code, we do have certain dress codes here. We ask that if you are in direct care, that you use their proper dress, and that you are not wearing excessive jewelry, that your shoes are low-heeled, closed-toe, and non-slip, that your nails are clean, that your name tags are on. That's a part of your uniform. And we don't allow any jeans, shorts, or sleeveless tops except for on Fridays. And make sure that you're not wearing t-shirts or something like that, and that is has bad things on it. Don't do that. It's not good. All right, smoking policy. We are a smoke-free facility. We've already talked about our online networking for social media, and we also talked about the kind of conduct that you are expected to have. Page number 53, if you'll turn on page number 53, we don't allow any bullying, and we already talked about that. And so page number 54 says don't misuse the telephone, don't accept any gifts, and don't try to do any kind of selling, because we don't allow that. Expense reimbursement. If you have something that you need to be reimbursed, you need to tell the business office. And if it has not been already approved, we're not going to reimburse that. So make sure you get it approved first. Make sure that you are doing all of your in-services. On page 55, CEU policy says in-service training will be a part of your job. There will be mandatory in-services that will be scheduled throughout the year, and employees will be required to attend. Employees must clock in and out for this in-service training to prove that you were here. It's a good thing. And then we talked about our corporate compliance. So we won't go over that again. We've already talked about our inclement weather, so we won't go over that again. And then on page number 57, it says CNRC does not pay employees their hourly wage when they are on property but not working. Employees are not required to stay here. Employees are only required to be at work on their scheduled shifts. If you have reliable and safe transportation to get work in any conditions, then you may not elect to stay. So what this is for is our inclement weather. And it's just saying that if you're here sleeping and not working, you're not going to get paid for that sleep. Okay? It's just, you're just here. All right. So the very last part of this book is just part where you sign. And do not sign unless you agree to everything. And if you don't agree, then you can't be here. That's just part of this contract that we're signing. It's saying that you agree to all of these rules. And then once you agree to them, then we will just have you to sign this last sheet. And that is it.